Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mike Aguado, creator of Parallax Monitor and ZR Control. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I wanted to show you guys some of the things that have changed in the most recent update, if you haven't seen them already, and to talk about some of the things that are coming next. Okay, so off the bat, you can see here that this is a new UI, a new interface that I'm calling Modern. You still have the classic interface that you have grown to love and that you've gotten used to, and if you want to use that, that's certainly an option. I think this new interface is a bit cleaner, is a bit more organized, gives you some more quick access to functions that you really need and love, and that you would need critically on a professional shoot. So let's kind of go over some of the new details of the new interface and how customizable it is. So as you can see here, we've got this new hot corner functions, which are totally customizable. And, essentially you can add anything you want to the hot corners. Also, I've changed it so that all the tools, if you long press, can be moved anywhere and they can be saved in between sessions. So we've also added a vector scope and RGB parade and all your sort of standard tools that we've always had, right? So yeah, you can essentially drag this wherever you want at whatever size. And then every time you open the app, it'll be right where you left it, which is pretty cool. We should put this back where it should be, in my opinion. Of course, you know about all the false color tools. One of the new other updates is a new UI for controls. So you can see here that we've got our standard exposure tools, but now I have added an additional feature to quickly switch between the base ISO within your ISO adjustments. Oh, that's a little too bright. Maybe we should tweak it. And you can see that 3200 matches between the two. Excellent. Same thing here for res. So now you have access to DX codecs directly. If you wanted to switch to that, let's go to a DX 24 4K, which is a punch in because of the DX crop. And then we can just switch back to a 4K 60 or 6K 24 pretty quickly. So there you have some access to your DX stuff. I've also recently added, as a user request, a LUT wipe feature. So you can see the raw and then the applied LUT, which is fun. I've added this punch option. So if you long press, you'll notice that you have access to power zoom functions, monitor punch, and focus punch. The focus punch is the magnifications that's built into the camera. And then monitor punch just zooms in the monitor. So if I hit this, we can zoom in quickly and easily. And when you zoom in, you can move the screen around. You can zoom in even further. Very exciting stuff. And monitor punch, focus punch works a little bit differently. And that is a zoom in from the camera's magnification, which is nice. We also have this new reference frame. So if we click this, we've now taken a reference of where we were in that moment. And this is great for lining up shots or resetting after a camera change. And maybe you're doing an interview style where you want to compare the two interview features. Now, if we long press on this, we get an opacity. So we can just go to our reference image or the other image, which is fun. And we can also do like a blink on a sequence. So you can see a comparison of the frame that we had before and the exposure. So that's a lot of fun. And you can also capture new references and show an overlay and that sort of stuff. So we'll turn that feature off. Okay, so you'll see here that now we have a timer that we can use. So I'll set that for 2 seconds and let's see what happens. You can see here the photo review mode. I've got that turned on, which I can turn off. So that just gives you an automatic review of your last shot. Some of you are probably familiar with that already. Okay, so you'll also see that we have continuous shooting modes that are now fully functional with self-timer, continuous low, continuous high. So I'll set continuous high. We'll leave the review mode off, and then I'll just take a ton of frames. I don't know if you guys could hear that clicking in the background, but it might have been 12 frames at least. So let's go take a look at playback. And you'll see that also now the playback interface has been updated and that we've added stacking, right? So if a series of photos happens within a certain interval or time, they get all stacked together. So that cleans up your playback interface considerably. I've also completely obviously updated this in terms of UI and function. And I now have a tether mode. So this gives us a current session, right? And as we take photos, things will be added. So I'm just going to press the shutter button on the camera in like a traditional tether way. Let's see if I can get myself in here. And you'll see that it follows the latest shot. I can turn that off and close the UI out. And you'll see the stacks of stuff I've taken. I did leave it in that continuous. So we'll pause the tether session. Let me turn off that continuous high and just do single frame. Cool. So yeah, I'll take some shots. Right. Let's go back to our playback section and turn off follow latest. So yeah, you'll see all the shots that I've taken in this tether session. And the cool thing is that we can, give these things ratings, and maybe that's a green and a plus, really however we want to do it. And then we can scroll through and maybe that's not a great one. So let's X that one out. And that's not a great one either, but sure, why not? And the cool thing now is that you'll see all these choices reflected in your groups, right? And then we can run filters based on whatever data we want. Maybe we just want stuff from today, and we just want JPEGs from whatever card slot, and whether it's square and just green, right? So now I have all my green shots, and obviously I can select those and select them both, and we'll export. Bam. Session complete. And where do I want to drop them? I will send them to my wife, or I'll drop them on Facebook, or you know what? I'll just save them local. So yeah, I mean, this tether, it's great for clients. You set up an iPad, tether either over USB or Wi-Fi. The shots come up, and what's cool is that as they come up, we'll take some more shots. I'll just manually trigger them. Yeah, your client can see the shots as they come up, right? They're that fast. And they can review them in real time and then scroll through the stuff that you've been working on. So yeah, I think that is. We'll go to our current session. I think that's a really, really cool feature. I'm not really looking my best, but hey, I'm not a model. I'm a developer. All right, so here we are in Multicam. I am running this completely wirelessly over the hotspot on my phone. You can see I've got a Z8 and a ZR connected here. And the frame rates are really great. I've added a ton of tools and features in here to, really help you match cameras quickly. And, if you take a look at this control panel, I can switch between either one. And, let's say I wanted to bring up the ISO on my Z8 just a hair. And maybe I want to bring it up on the ZR just a hair. Or if I wanted to change the volume between the two cameras or the color differences. I've tried to make them match as closely as I could already, but let me actually just go back to ISO because I kind of liked it a little better here. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. But obviously we can adjust tint values. I've added a bit of magenta because I feel like if we look, for example, at the ZR magenta 1.5, if we set that to 0, we get a kind of a bit of a green cast. So let's go back to 1.5 and look at the difference. And it's great that you can easily just see cameras side by side and get them to really match as closely as possible. It saves you a lot of time in post. And you can also check the settings really quickly. So for example, the ZR is set to 28 and the Z8 is set to 3000. So I think this tool is really invaluable for any kind of multicam shoots. We've also added a timecode jam. I prefer record run, and I'm going to use the current timecode clock, and I'll just jam the two cameras. And now you can see that they're perfectly in sync. I'll hit record, and we can do our thing, stop record, and you'll see that at the end, both cameras are locked in timecode. Very cool. Saves you if you don't have a external timecode sync device and you just have the app and a few cameras. I've also added a spotlight layout, which you may have seen before, which you can quickly switch between the two cameras and get a little bit larger view on your iPhone. I will say that the experience of this is really great on an iPad, but if you need to run a multicam session from an iPhone, I think it works really well, and the layout is great considering the size. So, quick heads up, you can see I'm getting, 37 frames a second over hotspot, which is great. I mean, I can use this in the field, no wires, no internet connection needed, no Wi-Fi network needed, just all off the hotspot. Really cool. So those are some of the new multicam features, with a lot more coming out in the next update. Okay, so those are some of the new updates. In the background, you'll also notice USB performance and stability, Wi-Fi performance and stability, more camera connections, more overall compatibility with the Z series cameras, um, and a ton of other stuff that's happened in the background with diagnostics and logging, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, so this is just some of the stuff. There's also another large update coming out in the very near future, within a week, which will add even more connectivity options and maybe even some new cameras that you can control. So look for that. If you haven't updated and you already purchased the app, update now, and look for another update in a week. And if you haven't checked out the app, please do. Please do. I think it's really the ultimate remote control and monitoring system for Nikon cameras, bar none.